but you're never gonna be me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they're scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try to change, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Geek, Gauntlet podcast. Oh man, I've been drinking too much Kool-Aid tonight. Got a lot going on right now. Doing a very special episode. It's Superman's 85th birthday, and my good friend Ambrose wants to go ahead and get into this. So let's bring him on, and we'll talk about Superman's 85th birthday. How you doing, Ambrose?
How you doing, William?
Doing good, doing good. How's everything going?
Everything's going good. You know, kid's tired and tuckered out from swim, so it's a peaceful house right now.
There we go. Can't beat that. All right. As you can see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, happy birthday to Superman. What does this mean for you being a big Superman fan?
You know, it's something that, has lasted generations, and you have I've had the pleasure of being able to read and watch all these great movies. Superman 1 and 2, and then you had 3, and 4 was terrible, but I hold a spot in my heart for it because I saw it in the theater, and I was 5, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever when I was 5 to see Superman in the theater. And it's one of those things where it's Americans don't have much that lasts as far as entertainment goes and as far as institutions go. We are constantly evolving and we are constantly moving on from things. But Superman is one of those things that has stuck around, as is Batman. But today's Superman's day. And he's, like I said, it's one of those things that goes from generation to generation. Before you had Star Wars, before you had Harry Potter, before you had any of these things we have now, Indiana Jones, we had a 2-cent comic with an alien saving someone from a car crash, and it started a phenomenon worldwide. So I'm happy to be a fan, and he hasn't had the best treatment as of late, but, I'm hoping that time will fix that.
Yeah, me too. And there's been several different versions of Superman that you've seen throughout the years. We've Black Superman, you have 2 of those. We have an Asian Superman now. Supergirl, of course, both in the CW and a new one that Sasha Calle being portrayed in the movies. Who was your favorite? Was it the original, or maybe you like more Henry Cavill? Who was your favorite?
I gotta go. Are you talking about the comics or the movies?
Well, the movies right now, and then we'll go into the comics.
Okay. You have to go with Christopher Reeve perfected the role. I mean, I think Cavill's great, but Cavill doesn't have. He was screwed by bad movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Cavill. He was endearing to the fans, and he filled the role of Superman great, and he did. It's like I said on the Cantina Happy Hour about Daisy Ridley. It's like, how bad do we know Daisy Ridley? Underdog.
Hey, Janae.
I mean, how bad do you really know Daisy Ridley is? Because they gave her crap material, and an actor is only as good as the material that's given them.
Right.
And that's what happened to Henry Cavill. And even though the movie sucked, we all loved him. We all wanted him to come back, and we wanted him to get the Superman movie he deserves. But that being said, you can't overlook Reeve, because Reeve he's like the quarterback. He's the guy. He's the Dan Marino. He's the Warren Moon. He's the one, when you fill those shoes, that's the guy you look up to. And that's the guy that you have to aspire to be when you're playing Superman.
I agree. Now, in the comics, who's your favorite in the comics?
You have to go with Clark Kent. I mean, I do anyway. I mean, it's all subjective. People, of course, they do different characters, so people like them. The thing with Superman is, and it's happened later on in years, where you gender swap and race swap, and I never saw that as necessary with an entity like Superman, because Superman was already an alien. He already is a foreigner. He already is a stranger in a strange land. And I think the problem with a lot of the media right now and a lot of the fans is you get upset because you don't see yourself in a character because you're not thinking enough.
Right.
I've never once watched Superman and been like, I look a lot like him. I never cared what he looked like. When you watch these characters, you have to identify with what they stand for more than what they look like. And Superman always stood for, he was a Boy Scout. Do well, help your neighbor.
Truth, justice, in the American way.
Truth, justice, in the American way. And he was supposed to represent everybody. And in the current climate, as far as media goes, everybody wants to see themselves. It's kind of a narcissistic era we're in with viewing media, because if you have a disability, God forbid, the superhero is not disabled, I can't identify him. I can't identify with him. This superhero is not Asian, I can't identify with him. And you have to study the character and not what the character looks like. I mean, I read all sorts of comics. I read Black Panther, and I never felt uncomfortable reading Black Panther, and said, you know what? I don't look like Black Panther. I don't feel comfortable reading this. I don't identify with him. You have to identify with the character. And I think that's what a lot of people are losing sight of. And I think that's why we're having a lot of these problems when these movies and reboots come out, because people aren't just accepting the character for what it is.
Well, to be fair, a lot of times we look, particularly, and I speak from being an African American male.
Of course,
we for a long time we didn't have anybody. A long time. I remember growing up. One of the first black heroes I saw was Amazing Man back in the All-Star Squadron comic days.
And what year was that? I'm sorry to cut you off.
80. Oh my gosh, 84, 85, somewhere like maybe, around that mid to late 80s. Look up All-Star Squadron, Amazing Man.
No, that makes sense, because that's when it was actually like black superheroes were becoming accepted and being created, because before that, all you had was like Falcon, Black Panther, and I want to say Power Man, who turned into Luke Cage.
And Storm,
X-Men, yeah.
So you didn't have a whole heck of a lot. And then toward down the line, you got Miles Morales and so forth. But I get what you're saying, because you want people to accept the character as a whole. But to be fair, I think particularly young kids want to identify with someone that looks like them. And that's why I think you got the two black Superman, the Asian Superman in the comics, because these kids want someone to look like them so they can look up to Superman the way that you did back in the day. I grew up more of a Batman fan than a Superman fan, to be honest with you. But
I can definitely see what you're saying there, especially with the black community, because they've gotten such a raw deal over the years. And like, if you want to make Superman black, they definitely deserve, of all the minorities, they definitely deserve representation, because they have and I might be speaking out of school as a white guy talking to an African American, but they have gotten no, I don't want to sound pompous, but they've gotten, between segregation, it goes all the way back to slavery, and then you had slavery, and it's like, all right, you're free, but you can't eat here, here, and here. And it's like, all right, you can't eat here, here, and here, but you have to pass a test. You can eat here, here, but you have to pass a test to vote.
Right. I mean,
all right, and they just kept and they kept moving the goalposts for them. And so I see the point of view you're coming from, because that community especially needs somebody to look up to. Because while I look at Superman and I see that, people like you might not see the same thing I'm looking at.
And
So
I think, and I think that's why Black Panther T'Challa gets his due. But there's other heroes that we can also look at that don't. If you look on the DC side, you look at somebody like Icon, for example. Yeah, you've seen Icon in the comics, but the only time you really seen him on TV is through Young Justice, and that wasn't long enough. He had a few appearances, and I think one speaking role, maybe two, in Young Justice. I'll go over to the Marvel side, and as much diversity as Marvel's done, I give him that. They're still leaving out one character, who to me is awesome, and that's Blue Marvel. So
yeah, he hasn't been around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't really seen him. So I think I get where you're coming from on that, because that's who you look to as that guy. I understand that point. Because Superman does stand for truth, justice, and the American way. His virtues, the way he looks at the world, is different than other people, and I think his viewpoint on the world makes him more unique than most other heroes. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm not gonna sit here and say it's naive, but it's unique. Because regardless of race, color, creed, he just wants everybody to get along and be good people.
But also to piggyback off of what you're saying, and you made a very, very good point. You caught me on the fly here, so like you definitely raised a very good point there. I don't necessarily even disagree with race swapping. I just want the story, like we said with the X-Files on the Gauntlet and diverse. I want the story to be good.
Right.
And you know, so if you, and I believe things like comics are left open to artist interpretation. So if you have like a young African American wants to sit down, hey, Bill, you're handed Superman. And he says, you know what? I finally got Superman. This is a dream of mine. And it's artist interpretation. If he wants to make him black, I don't understand why. It's the same side of the coin where I don't think race swapping is necessary, but I also don't think that it's the be all and end all to keep a character white.
Right. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so, I mean, so if someone writes a good story, they write a good comic, they make Superman black, I really don't see an issue with that. And
because
I think
and I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want
no. Go ahead. This is a great conversation.
I just want to be sure because this is what I say about Dreamer. I love Dreamer in Supergirl. We all know she's part of the trans community. I really don't give a damn because she's cool. The character itself is cool, and B, they gave her a good story instead of just coming from a place of inclusion and leaving it at that. And you can go back and look at past versions of the Gauntlet from this year to years past. I've always said, don't do something just to do it. Put a good storyline behind it. And I love Dreamer now. I don't care trans community or not. I think the character's cool. I think the actress is cool. So I get your point because a good storyline can engross you more than just the inclusion of someone.
And as someone that has been doing this for years, and as you know, like I do favor writing when I'm watching. You're an action guy, so you tune in. You want to see the guns and the explosions, and you know you want to see the car chases. I'm more of a writer's guy, so I pay attention more to who's writing. So again, going back to the X-Files, I know this is a Superman show, but when the guy announces, "Oh, we're going to bring a new diverse and inclusive cast," what about the writers?
Right.
Like, if he left the cast out, and he said we got a diverse and inclusive writers' room, Cool. So you have people from every point of view coming up with stories, and that's what a writer's room should be. It should be a black guy, a white guy, a Spanish guy, a Chinese guy, and you all spitball ideas. You all come off each other. You all but they're focused on what we see more than the product that we're getting.
And see, that's where me and you agree, because like I said, I think the story takes precedent over any type of inclusion, because you could have the most inclusive cast in the history of the world. If the story isn't good, if the product isn't good, then it overshadows that diversity. Like, you could take Gotham Knights. You could have the best cast in the world, which they don't, by the way.
But you could have a rainbow coalition.
You can have a rainbow coalition. Right. If the story is good, people will come and watch. You'll get the ratings, which would then be helped by the inclusivity. It's not the inclusivity that's going to sell anything. It's the story that's going to sell it.
And see, what it does is, when these shows fail because you didn't deliver, it fuels the racists that don't want the inclusivity. See, what's the thing when a show fails? Get woke, go broke.
Right.
Get woke, go broke.
Right.
So you galvanize the people that are resisting change when you don't deliver the product, and it makes them, to casual viewers and casual consumers, it makes them look right, instead of okay, guys, let's start with a core cast. Let's write great stories. I really would like to, in time, make this cast diverse. So create characters, create an entrance for them, make good story arcs, make it so these people will come back week after week after week. Instead of saying, let's design this show and poll it on Twitter.
First of all, Twitter's trash. That's
Twitter is, but the thing is, I guarantee you, in every writer's room in America right now, I bet you at the Gotham Knights writer's room, let's write this. I don't know about that. Hey, Johnny, what do you think Twitter would think of this? Like, you know that there is one guy in every writer's room right now whose sole purpose is to say, I don't think that would fly with the Twitter crowd.
Right. But I would just like to see Javiska Leslie, for example, in Batwoman. Okay, she did the role just as the best she could with what she was given. But can you imagine the show when she picked it up from Ruby Rose?
She was left a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
and they wrote a dumpster fire, and that poor lady, because I mean, I honestly, I hated the show.
I did too.
I gave her a chance because it was a cast change. It's like, all right, maybe this, and I had nothing against her as Batgirl. My initial reaction watching it was like, that poor lady, man. Like I was like, they left her holding the bag. She's sitting there, and like, this is gonna entirely be blamed on her because she was the last She was the last Batwoman. Ruby Rose dipped out and went back to Didgeridoo-land or wherever she's from, and
yep.
I love Janae.
You ain't lying, Janae. You ain't lying. That's the truth.
But I mean, and the thing is that it's a joke I've come up with a bunch of times when we talked about Batwoman is, and this is something my high school English teacher always taught me when I'd write. When the ideals and the message take over the characters in the story, you lose both.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah.
And 100%. That was what happened with Batwoman. You know, even in the trailer, it's like, I am a woman. I'm gonna fight as a woman. It's
but
like
if you would have taken that show and given it, forget that crap. If you would have gave it good writing, and see, here's the thing that pissed me off about that show. It's ending, but when you saw the end part of it, it made you the last little 20 seconds of that episode, it made you, oh shit, this looks good. They might be able to do something with this, but oh wait, this show gets canceled because of your poor writing and the fact that you had everybody wanting to bone each other.
I mean, but also, can you imagine if it was gender swapped and there was like a Batman CW show and the trailer was like, I have a wiener, I'm a man, I'm gonna punch you in the face because I'm a man with a wiener. And it's like, why do you need to hammer the point home?
Right.
And I really hope that actress that played Batwoman, I really hope she gets a second chance in the DCU. I hope they put her somewhere.
You saw her on the Flash a couple weeks ago, and she did a tremendous.
No, I didn't.
job. Oh, you didn't watch that show? Okay, you didn't watch the episode.
I told you I ducked out of Flash at season 4.
Yeah, she came back as Batwoman. She sucked as the Flash of that world, but as Batwoman, I thought she was really, really good. I think she was really good as Batwoman.
And I'd like to see her get another turn. I don't think Ruby Rose is like DC's Brie Larson. Like she's not. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ruby Rose. I have nothing against her personally. I don't think she's as unlikable as Brie Larson. I just don't think she was a very good actress.
And I think she got all that play from being LGBTQ plus.
But it's also with Ruby Rose too. It's like she didn't write those lines.
No, she didn't.
You sit there and everyone hates her for the dialogue she had, and it's like
she didn't write the dialogue.
She didn't write that dialogue.
Nope.
It's So the jury's out on Ruby Rose.
Janae, I hope so.
I heard it's Amelia Clark, Janae.
I hope so. I heard that rumor too. I hope so. Write her out. That works for me. But I would because I agree with you. Storyline is the most important thing. I think it shouldn't be you cast and then write the story. It should be you have the story and then you base that cast on the script. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I have a question to pose for the viewers, if anyone's watching. And I know you'll probably agree with me on this. So I'll pose the question to you, but I pretty much know what your answer is going to be. If Superman was real, and we were making stories about him, and he was, real guy, retired Superman, living in his Kryptonian rocker, enjoying life with Lois,
like we got with Batman Beyond.
Yeah, but a little more healthy.
Yeah,
and not crippled.
Yeah.
If they were making a series of TV shows and one of the versions of Superman happened to be black, and people were flipping out over the race swap and throwing temper tantrums on the internet, whose side do you think Superman would be on?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, you really have to, like, if Superman really came into the fray, would he be like, you are right, racists?
No, he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, like, whose side? If you really like the lore, and you really like the stories, and you really like the character, you also have to put yourself in the character's shoes.
Exactly.
I'd love for Superman to come back as a fat, pasty-faced white guy. But I don't think that's going to happen because he burns calories like a champ. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Well, Janae, that's totally different. I get it with Hamilton because Hamilton was an innovative play and that was designed for adults. But I do totally agree with you. Like when you're making a show, or if it's historically inaccurate, like what's the thing on Paramount Plus, like Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies?
Oh yeah.
And how are you going to explain when Grease comes around why there aren't any black people in your school?
Right.
So historical context is different, and historical context is important. But as far as storytelling,
it was no different than early 90210.
What's that? The Pink Ladies thing?
It was no different than 90210 back when it first debuted.
Honestly, I haven't watched it because I hated the movie Grease. So I just honestly did not give a turd about it. Like I hated Grease. I thought it was stupid. John Travolta creeps me out because his eyes are too close together. And like
so oh my gosh.
But I mean, and like I said, I think you would agree with me on that. You have to respect the character,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't think Superman would come out of retirement and say, I don't like young Chinese men, or I don't like young Mexicans, or I don't like young black men
I
portraying me
don't
on
think he'll
screen.
say any of that.
I don't
That's
think he'd
not
say
that
any of that.
because that's not in his values that Ma and Pa can't talk to him.
I think that if the story sucked, he'd be like, this was a lie and that is wrong.
Right.
But I don't think he would go after the cast members.
No.
And
no. To me, you know, there's stories out there. DC has a whole earth of black heroes for those who want to know. They have a whole earth of black heroes. They have a Black Robin, a Black Wonder Woman, which is Nubia, Wonder Woman's sister. And if you want to go read those issues, feel more than free. They're fantastic. But you know, I don't think that race swaps. Hell, Hawkman, the dude that played Hawkman in Black Adam, caught hell because they all thought Hawkman was a white dude. No, he's Egyptian.
Hawkman's Egyptian, and the thing is, because Hawkman's Northern Egyptian, a lot of people don't realize that Egypt is part of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's northern Africa, and a lot of people forget that like Sudan and Egypt and all those countries up there are actually, you know, part of that continent.
And that's the most important thing right there. If the writing is good, the acting will be good. And then I think if the writing's good, the acting will be good, and that's when the inclusivity of a show would really hit home at that point.
And again, though, to bring my point back full circle to what we were talking about before we got deep into this conversation, when I was watching Black Adam, Hawkman was one of the best parts about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it never once crossed my mind and said, you know, Aldous Hodge shouldn't be Hawkman. He's way too dark-skinned. Because he did such a good job playing him, and his character was done so well. I didn't care. And that's something. Black Adam's dead. I'm sure Aldous Hodge isn't coming back, but if they do a movie with Hawkman coming back, I would like to see Aldous Hodge.
You'll get a JSA before you get another Black Adam.
Yeah, and Hawkman was part of that, and I'd like to see. But I'd like to see, because B and you have talked about this too. We're both fans of the show Leverage, and that's where I know Aldous Hodge from, and he's a great actor.
Great actor.
And I'd really like to see him keep that role. But you know, James Gunn is, I don't know what James Gunn is doing. So it's like, hey, James, how you doing with the new Superman script? Toaster. Okay. James is having a rough day, guys. Okay, let's leave him alone. And someone get the man a toaster.
Yes. Yes. And a couple of Hot Pockets. But I just think we need to stop it. I just think that we need to make sure that the writing on these shows, hell, you saw it in the second Wonder Woman movie. I love Gal Gadot. I think she's beautiful. I think she is perfect for the part of Wonder Woman. But what messed up that whole second movie? The writing.
The story was awful. The story didn't even make any sense. Every 5 minutes, I was like, if this is happening, then how did that happen? And if this is happening, then how did that happen? None of this makes sense. I'm done.
Just puppets in his closet.
I'm going to go way off the rails here, though, because you brought up Gal Gadot. And I was reading a press junket for the new Snow White movie. And I saw who's playing Snow White.
She got a business touching that role.
Yeah. What's her name? Rachel Zegler? And I saw who's playing Gal Gadot. I mean, I saw who's playing the Queen, which is Gal Gadot. How badly are they going to ugly Gal Gadot up so she's uglier than the Snow White?
I ain't watching that movie.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what are they going to do to Gal Gadot? Are they going to give her a stump leg?
You brought her to the part of her deal is the fact that she is beautiful. You saw her in the Fast and Furious. You saw her in that first Wonder Woman movie was great. I ain't gonna say in front. I love that.
No, I really like the Wonder Woman. I think Gal Gadot, she's not the best actress in the world, but a good director. And Patty Jenkins, even though she directed both Wonder Woman and she tremendously bombed
Yeah, they're remaking it.
Yeah, they are, and it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think the lady's like Dominican, so it defeats the whole purpose, and they should probably retitle the show.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
But because that's a really weird race swap. Because the whole story is you have skin as white as snow,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, hola, just got done with the tan.
But I just think
Also, I'm apparently prettier than Gal Gadot. Fuck you, liar. Oh, sorry,
Yep.
shit. I'm sorry.
You good. But I
we
think
at least 8 minutes in.
But yeah, we passed that.
Okay.
But I just think that you are so right, because we need to put emphasis in the writing room. We need to make sure that your story is strong, and then work the cast around that story. And I think if you do that, then I think the casting in these movies will be a whole lot better, because you'll get a better actor who can actually work with that better storyline.
And I also think, and again, you as a member of a minority group, please do correct me if I'm talking out of school. That's not my intention when I say this.
Go ahead.
But I think a lot of the race swapping, if I was a minority, and this is how I would feel, and it sounds like when they race swap a lot of people, like say hypothetically they make Captain America black, I feel like it's just like a bunch of executives sitting in a room. It's like, okay, we got to toss the black people a bone. Let's make this character black. And it's like, why wouldn't you just create a character for these people instead of just saying, well, we gave them Captain America?
I think it's because, and if you go back and look at the history, we sort of kind of already got that. If you go back and look at Captain America's history, particularly with the Super Silver Serum.
Because Falcon is Captain America now, right?
Right. And if you also go back a little further, if you also go back a little further, there was a black man who got a hold of the super soldier serum, as you saw in that series on Disney Plus. But yeah, we already have that. And my thing is, they do him a disservice, because I'm the only person. Shaw doesn't agree with me. Sam Wilson, this new Captain America, they set him up for failure. He doesn't have the super soldier serum. He got the shield, but he doesn't have the super soldier serum, and he's not the fighter Cap is.
Well, yeah, and that's why I think it's insulting. It's like, I think that it's just this boardroom sitting around. It's like, okay, make Iceman gay. Okay, but what's his story going to be? Doesn't matter. He's gay. People will shut up.
Right.
Like,
not knowing how strong and how powerful this Iceman is. And go back and read the comics. This Joker is freezing people from the inside out.
And they treat these characters and they treat these minorities like I treat my toddler when I don't want to listen to it. It's like, just give her a goddamn lollipop. I don't want to listen to her anymore.
Right.
And it's like, you know,
I agree with Danae. Do it organically, not force it.
Yes, I agree with that. But it's also, I feel like if I was a minority, I'd respect it a lot more if they created a character and they weren't just like, all right, give them Colossus, give them, well, they already have Storm, so give them Colossus, and give them, they have Jubilee too, so just give them Colossus. And
to piggyback on what you're saying, this is why I say you need to showcase Icon more. You need to showcase Blue Marvel more, because their original characters, yeah, they can be shoot-offs of Sentry and Superman or whatever, but they're still original characters that we can get behind. They're both well respected, both strong as hell. Blue Marvel was going toe-to-toe with Hulk and Sentry, and we know Icon was just beating Superman's ass. So I just think that you got a point there. But amongst some people younger than me, representation is more important, and I understand that. I get it. But it should be with a storyline behind it. And like Janae said already, it should be organic. It shouldn't be anything forced down our throat.
Well, and it's also, and a lot of the people that say representation is more important, I wouldn't dare tell a young African American how they should feel about a character, because I've never even set foot in their shoes. I've never experienced what they have to experience. So if that's what they feel. That's what they feel. Do I agree with you? It depends on what we're talking about.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't dare try to push my my feelings about how a character should be handled on theirs if they feel that much differently about it, because clearly
And that's why,
there's clearly a reason why they think that, and it's
and, and that,
most likely 99% a very valid reason.
and that's why
So
Millstone Comics was created, who gave us Icon, who gave us Static Shock, because they wanted to give the Black communities characters that they can look up to, that they can look up to, that can look through and say, hey, this is my Superman. Static Shock is so popular, he got his own cartoon show for a minute.
And Static Shock's a great character too, and I think a
Yep.
lot of that is because Stan Lee saw the future a lot better than DC did.
Mm-hmm.
And Stan Lee, I can guarantee you, because Stan Lee was not a racist guy. I mean, I think the whole X-Men was designed. His stories, a lot of them were allegories about human rights and racial inequality, and that's pretty much how the X-Men came about.
Yep, based off racism. It's based off racism. Mm-hmm.
And I think he was in a board meeting, and he was like, "Hey, man, you realize like this is 1977 or 78. A lot of Black kids are reading comics. A lot of Spanish kids are reading comics. We got to get with the times. It can't just be Joe White guy anymore. We've got to diversify. We've got to create a portfolio, and we've got to and I hate to say the word represent, but it's like, yeah, we have to represent all of our
But there was also, but to go back to what you were saying with that representation was also good story, because you had Black Panther back there going up against Wolverine, and you actually had people debating, can Black Panther beat Wolverine? So you had great storyline going on with the representation. Nowadays it's lazy. People want the representation, but they don't want to pay the money for the writing room.
And going back to one of Stan Lee's last interviews, he always said, and he brought up X-Men. He said, we always thought politics and race and all the hot button issues were important, and we included them in our comics, but we were very careful not to make them on the forefront. We wanted to put them in the comics. We wanted to have them in the background. We wanted to have the reader draw the conclusions on their own.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want to beat their head over we wouldn't want to beat them over the head with our message. And that's something they lose sight of. Now, as far as the characters go, like Static Shock and Icon, DC markets their African-American and minority, well, except for Jaime Reyes. For some reason, they did a good job with him, but they market any character that is darker than khaki terribly.
Yeah.
They just, DC has not gotten on board with that, and it's inexplicable, because they're older, they've had more experience than Marvel, they're more established than Marvel, and it's like there was no one. Are you telling me in the 90 years that DC has been a publication, not one person has entered that boardroom and been like, we got to get on board, and we got to start pumping characters out that other readers can relate to. And it's not little Jimmy running to the comic book store anymore. You got people in the projects buying comics. You got people in Chinatown buying comics.
Exactly.
So
and that's why I give DC a little bit of chastising, because yes, you have John Stewart. Yes, you have Vic Stone and Cyborg. Yes, you have Icon, Augustus Freeman. You do have those three characters, but it's like everybody else under that umbrella gets ignored, and it shouldn't be that way.
Or it's like, even as soon as readership is down, they ignore like with Icon or Static Shock. As soon as readership is down, I mean, my favorite superhero is the Flash. Readership has been down on the Flash a million times. No one ever gave up on the Flash, but Static Shock, the minute readership goes down, cancel Static Shock. You sure you don't want to bring a good writer in here? This is a good character. You sure you don't want to bring Jeff John? You sure you don't want to bring Jeff Johns in here to write the writers' room and give us some good
Titans? Bumblebee with Titans. Aqualad, you saw him get a little bit of play in Young Justice as leader of the Justice League. But he also served another purpose because he was gay. But
Was Aqualad gay?
in Young Justice, he played a gay character.
Oh no, but in Titans he wasn't.
But in Titans he
was
wasn't.
he was banging a Wonder Girl.
Yeah, but in Young Justice, he was gay. But again, it's just a shame. It's on DC side. At least in Marvel side, you have Black Panther and Storm get married. Storm is a lot stronger now. I think she's beyond the Omega level mutant level now.
I haven't bought print comics because they've disappointed me so badly over the last 10 years. I'm so out of the loop with print comics.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even and going back to Superman, Clark Kent leaves, he leaves his son in, and again, nothing against bisexual or gay people, but it's like, okay, so Superman's gay. What's the storyline? Well, he's gay and he's protesting.
Well, see, that's
okay.
That's another thing, because and me and another friend of mine talked about this. When you look at it, the LGBTQ plus community didn't support that book, which is why it got canceled.
And the thing is, because it was a stupid storyline.
Yep.
Like, you're sitting there, you're like, well, he's gay and he's protesting. Okay, what's he protesting? Like human rights? No, the environment. He's Superman. He can fix the environment. What? Calm down, John. Calm down. But, like, you can literally fix this. You have the superpowers.
You have the power. You can fix it.
Like, you can fix it. Why are you holding up a cardboard sign?
Right.
Like, it made, and the thing is with the lore, like, you're reading this and you're like, this makes absolutely no sense. Why is Superman sitting in a drum circle? He could literally fix this in 5 minutes.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and put a bow on this thing. Final thoughts.
Young kids, viewers, Superman's been a special part of my life. I've been here on this earth in about 7 days. It'll be for 39 years. Superman has been a huge inspiration, whether he's black, white, Asian, dead, alive, zombie. He's a character for everyone to look up to. And I think we need to focus more on the stories and the message he's sending than what he looks like. And that's what I'll say about it. And happy anniversary to Superman. And hopefully the writers will get you right. And hopefully James Gunn will forget to direct your movie and they'll get someone else.
85 and don't look a day over 30. That's amazing.
It's that Kryptonian don't crack.
Yeah, it don't. It really don't. Janae, thank you for being here. I do appreciate you. I hope your son's doing better. I hope the fam's doing good. Thank you for being here.
I hope you got better, Janae. I'm sorry. I forgot all about that. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. This has been a very special edition of the Geek Gauntlet podcast. It's on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Definitely check it out. And for Janae, John, and myself, we'll see you guys this Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Geek Gauntlet podcast. Everyone have a great week and take care.